I have a number of videos on conditioning on LasVegasAreaTrails.com, and they're conditioning for trail running. Now that I'm adding in mountain biking, want to create a video on my conditioning, my daily conditioning for the mountain biking adventures that I do on the gravel off-road terrain. And this adventure is what, and there's the beast, by the way, can't leave the beast out. This adventure I call the Lunatics Lickety Split Loop, and it contains just about every kind of terrain you can imagine, every terrain that I encounter in the mountains, except perhaps for the dramatic ascents, and descents, but it definitely contains asphalt. Some of the roads that I travel will be asphalt up in the going up to the mountains, and then there are gravel roads. There's barriers to carry the bike over, and there's sand and rock, boulders, all sorts of terrain that you would experience up in the mountains, and we're going to see that today in this. It takes about 45 to 55 minutes depending on how much wind we're fighting. So you'll see all these barriers today in the Lunatics Lickety Split Loop. And by the way, as I encounter these barriers, what I'm doing is I am retooling the bike, and you can notice here a better image than I've shown before is you can see the post, the seat post is new with shock absorption spring, and then there's another spring above the seat post. This is meant to absorb the shock from dramatic descent, and then on rocky roads. And then you can see how I've padded the handlebars on the edges. What I'm going to do is move the brakes over to, I'm going to take those pads off, move the brakes over to the edges, because as I'm descending I need to have the control of holding the edge of the handlebar and be able to manage the brakes at the same time. And I'll show that when that is done, not today but in the future. And then you can also see there's some shock absorption in the up front, and then these the tubes in these tires are about 4 times the thickness of normal tire tubes. They're almost $20 a piece, where the average tube you can get, I don't know, 2 for $10. These are really thick tubes, and they're necessary with all the beating that this bike goes through. And then one other improvement that I'll be making, besides moving the brakes to the edge, is eventually I'll get a better gear system. So we'll keep souping up this bike, and you can see the rear rack here, abundant bungee cords, and then what's on this rack is a tire kit, and then all the little wrenches that they have in these kits aren't what I really need. So I'm sacrificing a little weight to add a regular wrench. And then what you see in the plastic bag there is Allen wrenches that are the wrenches that are needed for each of the fittings throughout the bike. There are 3 or 4 different size fittings. I've got them in these wrenches. Of course, they're inside the kit also, but I like to have some outside the kit because when I've got the backpack on the rack, and I've got 4 bungee cords holding that backpack on real securely. I like to still be able to reach the main tools that I would need if there's an issue without taking that whole system apart. And then why do I have this shirt here on the back? This is the final thing that is helpful, is that I put my phone upside down and then put it under the bungee cord, and the shirt gives the phone cushioning. Now I can pull the phone out and take videos easily. So pretty much that's the system as it is today, and I'm continually improving it as I've only been doing this for about 6 weeks, and started out with a bike with no real off-road protection. Now it's been retooled. And so anyway, there you have it. There's the Silver Bullet, and let's go on that Lunatics Lickety Split loop. Here we go. Here we are, traversing an abandoned golf course. And cool thing about this loop is that you can see a lot of the mountains that I climb from this loop. There's the Sheep Range. To the right is Gas Peak. We'll get better views of Gas Peak later in the loop. And then look what we have over here. We've got La Madre Mountain, and then panning over to the right, we've got the Mount Charleston Wilderness, and you can see Griffith Peak on the left and Mummy Mountain on the right, Mount Charleston, and Fletcher Peak in the middle. And so the first terrain challenge that we have, it's not much of a challenge, but it's a little sampling of riding through sand. Okay, here we go. As promised, here's just a little stretch of deep sand with an incline on the other side. And you know, it's not much, but at least it gives me a feel for every day it gives me a feel for how I'm handling the bike in this kind of surface condition. And then, you know, here we see Sheep Range coming into better view, and then here we have all of Gas Peak. Okay, let's continue. Now we're back on surface roads, and what I'm going to do is head around to Silverstone Road, which is the end of Buffalo, the north end of Buffalo, and then take a right onto Grand Teton, and then take another right and head into an off-road complex, and that area will lead to Grand Teton. I mean, not Grand Teton. That area will lead to Tule Lake Park. Beautiful little park. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll head over to Durango, hit the north end of Durango, and then circle around back through the desert in the valley just in front of Gas Peak here. Okay, so here we go. Actually, I was wrong. We turn on Rachel Street. We turn off of Silverstone onto Rachel Street, and then take another right turn on Coke Street and head up this area. We're going to head in the back door of a beautiful walking, running, biking trail complex that is right at the Tule Lake Park. So here we go. Okay, I took a left off of that last road and headed down this little access road into this amazing complex of trails, walking, running, biking. There's a biker up there demonstrating these trails for us. And as you can see, pretty cool. Very definitely low maintenance desert landscaping going on here. But there are, throughout this system, there are places you can stop and rest and get out of the sun, which is important in Las Vegas, especially during the summer. And you can picnic if you've got your family with you. There's another little spot. So all along this trail system is, there are places that you can stop and rest. And then, of course, you see La Madre Mountain right in the center there, and then panning over to the Mount Charleston Wilderness this direction. And then this system is pretty extensive. You could just park on Rachel Street, which is actually I could have continued on Rachel Street, and if I were in a car, I would have parked and loosened my bike from the bike rack and then headed on this road system. And also, cool thing about it is that it goes straight up north, but then there's a split off to the right or east, and it goes quite a ways further. In fact, there is the established road continues, and more picnic tables and places to rest. But you can go quite a ways to the east. You take a right there. If you take a left, which we're going to do, you can travel through the Tule Lake Park, which is very beautiful. You'll see in a moment. And it's right in this direction. Okay, here we go. There's a lot of variance of surface. You've got this rough gravel, and this actually is a good test for the inflation of my tires and the spring loading of the seat cushioning, and whether something's loose and needs to be tightened. And then more of the nicer road system. What we're going to do is we're going to head further up here, go through a loose gravel parking lot. Good chance for us to test our riding skills on loose gravel and the ideal gear settings, and then right into the Tule Lake complex. So here we go. By the way, normally for this loop, I would head down this road, and then it connects with the entrance of Tule Lake Park, and then Brent Street, and eventually Durango, where I turn right and head to the end of Durango. But for right now, we're going to take a little circuit of Tule Lake Park just to see what that looks like. Enter through the back door of Tule Lake Park. It's normally a fee area, but if you're on foot or on a bike, you can enter in through the back door and you're fine. Let's take a look around. Here we have the Gas Peak, and then you can see evidence of the off-road system. It's very nicely graded, the main roads here, and you won't find other vehicles on it, which is nice unless they're maintenance vehicles. So it goes for some ways in the distance there, and you can actually see another one of those rest stations up ahead. Ample rest picnic stations, and now you're in a good example of a southwestern desert. So and here you have an oasis park. So we're going to go around the park. I don't normally do this on my regular Lunatics Lickety Split loop, but just wanted to show you Tule Lake Park. Okay, now we're in the Tule Lake Park. You see picnic tables around us, benches. Really nice place to just stop and enjoy an oasis in the desert around Las Vegas. See people fishing. There's actually a series of lakes here. Another lake in the series of lakes. This is the main lake in the Tule Lake Park area. They keep it up very well. So beautiful. You can even see a section with reeds on the other side. A lot of shelters, get out of the sun into the shade. Waterfowl. And again, fishing. I don't know what people are catching or how easy it is to catch something, but a lot of people fishing this area, so there's got to be something they're getting. Okay, we're going to head around Tule Lake here and out the front door, which is on the other side of the lake, and over then to Durango. Here we go. Okay, yeah, it's not Tule Lake Park, it's Lamb Park at Tule Springs. So now that we're closer to the front entrance, I can see what this actually is and the sign identifications. But as you can see, very beautiful spot. Okay, let's head out the front entrance now. Final shot of Lamb Park at Tule Springs. Little bird performance there for us. You can see what happens when somebody brings food to feed the birds. It doesn't take them all long to head over and get to that source of food. Okay. Who's going to get there first? And there you see a little inlet on the other side. It's amazing how somehow they all know, way on the other side of the lake, they all know when there's food. Okay, let's head out the entrance. Now we're back in the familiar Las Vegas area desert. There's the sheep range. Lamb Park was just a little oasis. But you can see the walking and bike trail system. And as I mentioned, there's a fee station at the entrance. There it is. So this turns into Brent Road, and we head out this road, hit Durango somewhere off in the distance there, and then we'll head north on Durango. Okay, here we are at the corner of Brent Road, which takes you to Lamb Park down in the distance there, and here's Durango. And that takes you into Las Vegas. You can see the Charleston Wilderness in the distance here. By the way, if I get lost in the streets of Las Vegas, I just look for the mountains. Shows me where I am. There's Sheep Range. Sheep Range, then Fossil Ridge, and then Gas Peak. So we are in the familiar Vegas desert area here. And up ahead there, that may be the Muddy Mountains. Not sure what that is off in the distance. We'll find out. We'll explore there at some point. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to travel up to the northern end of Durango, where it just dead ends. And there's a cool park, and I hope I get the name right. We'll correct it if I don't. It's Tule Springs Fossil Park. Let's find out. Okay, we're at the end of Durango Road, and I was just about right about the name. Tule Springs Fossil Beds National Monument, right at the end of Durango Road. And here, let's take a look what we can see around here. There's Sheep Range, Fossil Ridge, Gas Peak, and yes, there are fossil beds in these hills and valleys. However, you really want to see some fossils that jump out at you. You don't have to dig around to look for. Go out to Fossil Ridge. head out 95 to Corn Creek Road, go to the Desert National Wildlife Refuge parking area at the end of Corn Creek Road, and then over to up Mormon Wells Road. You'll need a four-wheel drive or a Silver Bullet like the bike there. And once you get there, you just head out Mormon Well, you go right to Fossil Ridge. Okay, let's take a look at the signs here. I'll just do a quick look. You can freeze the video if you want to read what's on the signs. Fossil facts, climate, ancient inhabitants, and a map. It's a pretty cool area. A lot of people don't know this exists. And then wildlife and some warnings about travel in the desert. Make sure you've got water. So there you have it. And you know, if you're into mountain biking and some really rugged experiences, go ahead and ride on these big series of hills here, ridges, but be very careful because as you can see, you'd be riding along and not realize that there's a pretty steep drop-off, and some of these drop-offs are like 30 feet. You go over that on your bike and it could mess up your whole day. And then here's the end of Durango Boulevard, northern end. And what we're going to do now is we're going to head down this road. Yeah, I can't read the name from here, but there it is. We're going to head down this road, and you can see lots of construction happening at this time, so you can't drive this in a car. And what I'm wondering is if they're going to continue this maintenance road out to 95, which is off in the far distance up there. And if you look closely, you can see some traffic on 95. That'd be pretty cool, because then we could take a back road bike trip out to 95 and to the Desert National Wildlife Refuge. But that in itself would be pretty huge. Okay, so as I said, we're gonna head through this construction area, jump through a wash, and on the other side we'll find a maintenance road that is very fast. Gravel, but fast. Here we go. Just had to get a shot of this. Guess what this is? Let's take a look. There you have it. Looks like a underground water system that's being installed. But what a shot. And then of course, when you're in here, you're quite an echo. So this is what I do for kicks. Okay, let's continue. What we're going to do now is we're going to jump a fence here, circle around, and ride through the middle of a wash, and up the far side, which is actually a retaining wall. We're going to ride up that retaining wall. There's just enough of an angle that you can ride your bike up that. And then one of the most, the smoothest unpaved roads, which is the maintenance road for these power lines. So here we go. Okay, jump this fence, around that rock, through the wash, and up the retaining wall on the other side of the wash. Here we go. Okay, ride through this rough wash. Lots of gravel, little boulders to jump, and some deep sand to ride through, and then ride up that retaining wall. It doesn't look like you could ride a bike up that, but actually you can. See you on the other side. This is where a GoPro would be nice, but that's all right. In the absence of that, just imagine what this is going to be like. By the way, just noticed in the distance there, Frenchman Mountain. Good shot of Frenchman Mountain. Other side of that is Lake Mead. So now you get a little more perspective where we are in the larger scheme of things. Well, that took about 10 seconds. It was a quick, wild ride. There's the wash, the other side of the wash there. And here's the grand maintenance road. And one reason I call this the Lunatics Lickety Split Loop is that this is the Lickety Split section on this gravel maintenance road, that normally there's a good tailwind, and it takes about 7 minutes to get all the way down this road to where I'm going to turn back through the desert and head back to my point of origin. And there you have Frenchman Mountain. I think that might be Sunrise Mountain to the left, but no promises, I'm not sure. And then I'm not sure what this is over here. We'll find out. Could be the Muddy Mountains, but we don't know. We know Lake Mead is on the other side of that. Then the Clark County Gun Range, which is the reason that this road will eventually have all kinds of barriers and red diagonal signs saying do not go any further once you get down to where we're going to take a right through the desert. And then Gas Peak. And the Sheep Range. And by the way, there's the pass that I normally take from the end of Rainbow Avenue up to the summit of Gas Peak. But we'll mention that a little later. For now, let's take off down this fast maintenance road. Here's the road I just came down. Believe me, when there's a 30-mile-an-hour tailwind behind you, you just fly down this road. It's an excellent test for the shock absorption system on the bike. And then here's that wash. We paralleled the wash, and you can see the retaining wall here. And then you look ahead, and there are the warning signs. Do not go further than this because of the Clark County Gun Range, which is right up in these hills right here, the base of Gas Peak. Have you listen carefully, you can hear popping of the guns. There's Gas Peak. And then the way, I've run this before, is running up the pass between Gas Peak and Castle Rock. Take a right, head behind Gas Peak, and then there's a way up to what I call the mid-summit ridge, which is right here. Now I'm on top. I head around the back side of that knob, that rocky knob there. I call the section between that mid-summit ridge and the summit the Gas Peak Gauntlet, because you are on the side of avalanche slopes almost the whole way. And then we reach the summit and head back home through this desert. For today, though, this loop involves heading back across the desert from this point to our point of origin, which is at the end of Rainbow Avenue. And a good marker that I use when I'm in the desert, so I nail this exactly, is there's a little crescent-shaped hill in the background there. I just look at that hill and I head straight for that hill, no matter how far back I am in the desert. And I end up here and I just keep my sights on that. But there's it's a sort of a road that we take from this point to the end of Rainbow Avenue. The next stop will be Rainbow Avenue. Here we go. Okay, here we are at the end of Rainbow Avenue, and we're looking back across the area I just covered. You see the power lines off in the distance. We were just there. There you go. This is a pretty fast little route through the desert. Very bumpy. Another good shock test. And then here we have the end of Rainbow Avenue, Rainbow and Horse. And you take a right here, enter into the complex I began this journey, and we're home. So that's the Lunatics Lickety Split Loop. There you have it.